Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our Webinar Wednesday series for the Texas Association of College and University Student Personnel Administrators, known as TACUSPA. TACUSPA enhances higher education and student success by cultivating relationships and engagement that promote leadership development among current and aspiring student affairs practitioners and scholars. Our vision is leading innovation in student development, engagement, and success. TACUSPA is an association of administrators, staff, faculty, students, and others interested in the professional administration of student affairs programs in higher education. The association's core values include development, advocacy, and networking. Thank you all for joining us for today's webinar, Getting Involved with TACUSPA. My name is Josh Meredith. I'm currently the Director of Student Life at South Plains College, and I serve as the Director of Webinars for TACUSPA. I would like to thank, I'd like to thank our host, Odessa. They host the backend technology Zoom part of this. So huge thanks to Alex and Odessa College for hosting today's webinar. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat, and we will address all questions at the end of today's presentation. Now, let me introduce our presenters today. Shelby Hearn, with many years of experience in higher education, Shelby is a passionate scholar practitioner who serves as the Assistant Director of Community Standards at Texas A&M University, Galveston. She previously oversaw the big event at Texas A&M University College Station, also known as the nation's largest student-run service project. With a Bachelor of Arts in Communication from Stephen F. Austin State University and a Master of Science in Educational Administration with an emphasis on Student Affairs Administration in Higher Education from Texas A&M University, she is committed to lifelong learning. In addition to her professional role, she is currently pursuing a PhD in Educational Administration in Higher Education at Texas A&M University. Her research interests include women in higher education, religious minority students in secular organizations, restorative justice, student affairs professionals, student engagement, campus traditions, and organizational culture. She is also an active member and leader in TACUSPA, where she serves as Vice President of Membership and Marketing, promoting the professional development and networking of student affairs practitioners in Texas. Her passion for learning, supporting the holistic development of students, and enhancing the student experience drives her work and research as she aspires to continue contributing to advancing higher education. Next, we have Dr. Neil Galimo. Neil E. Galimo, PhD, is blessed to serve as the Director of Campus Living and Learning at Texas A&M's Galveston campus, where he has served since 2006. His portfolio includes housing, all-campus conduct, camps and conferences, and he chairs the campus care team. Neil holds degrees from Baylor University and Texas A&M. He has presented and published at numerous conferences, including NASPA, ACPA, and has just accepted an invitation to be a featured panelist at ATIXA in Philadelphia in the fall. His research interests include Title IX reporting and policy, especially where it intersects with minoritized communities, as well as systems of student success. He is a proud father of 2 kids, a shameless Cubs fan, go Cubs go, smoker of meats, neurospicy, and loves his job more than anyone should. He's been a member of TACUSPA off and on, mostly on, since 2008, and has served as the Director of Technology for nearly 2 years. Last but not least, we have Corey Benson. Corey is the Assistant Vice President for Student Affairs and Dean of Students at the University of Texas Permian Basin. His previous roles at UTPB include Associate Dean of Students and Dean of Students. Corey currently serves as President of TACUSPA and is former Chair of the Texas Deans of Student Council. He was the recipient of the Outstanding New Professional and Outstanding Mid-Level Professional awards from TACUSPA, as well as the Outstanding New Professional and Service to Student Affairs awards from the NASPA GSKC. Corey has presented on issues related to Title IX, student conduct administration, student leadership and development, and diversity and inclusion at regional and national conferences, including NASPA Student Affairs Law Conference, NASPA Multicultural Institute, Leadership Educators Institute, and the annual conferences of NASPA and TACUSPA. Corey earned a master's degree in educational leadership and policy studies from the University of Texas at San Antonio and a bachelor's degree in communication from the University of Houston, Clear Lake. Welcome to Shelby, Corey, and Neil, and thank you for joining us for today's panel. Now let me stop sharing my screen and we'll dive into some questions. So I've got a few questions here and we'll go through one by one, person by person, starting with Shelby, going to Neil and then Corey, and allow them just to kind of answer how they got involved with TACUSPA, what TACUSPA means to them, and so on. So first, Shelby, could you just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved with TACUSPA?
Absolutely. So howdy, my name is Shelby Hearn. I use she, her, hers pronouns, and I'm so blessed and honored to be here today serving in this role. I currently serve as the Vice President of Membership and Marketing within TACUSPA, but my journey started in TACUSPA as a general member. I attended conference because my mentor at the time, Dr. Adam Peck, who recently has passed, but he shared that he wanted me to get connected to TACUSPA. If I knew that I wanted to be in the state of Texas in higher education, that I needed to get connected. And so I took that opportunity to go to conference. The next year, or actually the first year conference, I got a scholarship to attend from the foundation. The following year, I was asked to serve as a fellow. And so I started out as a Thomas Mormon fellowship and worked with a mentor, Keith Lamb, who really helped me really envision what TACUSPA means to me. And I got to really dive into all of the different components of our association and find ways that we could really engage our membership differently. And then the following year, after my fellowship concluded, I served as the director of marketing for 2 years, where I was the sole person putting together social media posts and content, as well as creating anything needed for marketing or marketing materials for our conference. At the end of my membership as the director of marketing, I then was nominated to serve on the board as the vice president of membership and marketing, and was elected into this role almost 2 years ago now. And that is just so unreal for me. Mainly because the people along the way that I've gotten to meet throughout my connections within TACUSPA are genuine lifelong friends that I can call up at any point and just say, hey, I'm having this problem, or I'm having this issue with the student and I don't know how to navigate it. I have so many colleagues in TACUSPA that I know that I can pick up the phone and call at any point, and they're going to be there to listen, to help, and to provide guidance and support. And so I think that that's really what it means to me, is really it's a network, but it's more than a network, but really a community of scholars, a community of practitioners. There's faculty, there's staff, there's so many people within this association. And so it gives me exposure to so many different levels that exist within higher education. So it's really been a place of home for me for the last 5 or 6 years.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Next question I have for you is, can you just tell us, kind of moving to the current, could you tell us a little bit about your current role with TACUSPA and some of the things that you're currently working on?
Yeah, absolutely. So I serve as the Vice President, Membership and Marketing. So I oversee a committee made up of about 20 to 25 professionals across the state of the association, variety of different campuses. We have 2-year colleges, we have 4-year colleges. We have a lot of different people on our committee who all bring different expertise and knowledge. We build the newsletters that you may see that go out monthly. And so I have a really great team. I have a director of marketing who serves under me and a director of membership. The director of marketing is more geared towards the graphics and the social media and the posts. And then our membership director role is really geared towards all of the inquiries, emails, administration on the back end of our website, making sure institutional memberships are updated, and all of those technological things that have to happen on the back end to make the association run. And so I get to serve with those two amazing professionals, Brooke Arrington and Gabby Vaughn, who serve in those roles. And their roles are actually going to end at the end of my journey in October. And so I'm looking for those positions to also be filled in the next year. So I'm hopeful that other people will be in those roles. But really specifically into my role, I manage the newsletter. We meet monthly. I also meet almost bi-weekly with my directors, sometimes weekly, just depending on what support they need. But I like to focus on the bigger, broader pictures of our TACUSPA brand. And so my role really is to create projects and videos and like things that are going to engage members in a different way, not just through social media and through email messaging. And so we have created a really awesome committee that's bringing up all of these great ideas on what things that we can do. One thing that I like to see come to fruition this year is at TACUSPA conference, we're going to record a video similar to like why TACUSPA, or if you've seen the why student affairs role videos before, we want to do that for TACUSPA. Why have you been in TACUSPA for so long? We have a lot of members who have been in the association for 10, 15 plus years. And so if we can capture their experiences, I'd love to share them out. So that's really my role. I put together the Thomas Mormon Fellowship video, experience video that you may have seen this year. And so mine is more of like the umbrella, broader picture tasks.
Full-time job, PhD student, all the things for TACUSPA. Check. I'm going to skip the next question because you kind of answered it in your first one, but I think this other question is maybe really good to hear from you on. So what is your vision for the future of TACUSPA?
Yeah, so I would like TACUSPA just to continue to grow and enhance its membership offerings. So I think that as we expand our membership, as we grow as an association, as we capture more people in the field, I think we have an opportunity to provide more to our members. And whatever that looks like, I'm not sure quite yet, but we've done a lot of brainstorming on like maybe it's some type of certification that's offered, or they have access to certain certifications year round, or even like a special like premium LinkedIn page for members. So like thinking outside of the traditional membership benefits for our members. I think also I would love in a dream world, I think this can happen for our centennial year. As we're celebrating our 100th year next year, I'm really hoping that we can gather at least one representative from every state university in Texas. I think it would be really easy to do. It's just a matter of doing the work and making sure our messages are getting out to everyone across the state. And so really my vision for TACUSPA is to bring us into the association, bring our membership up and our engagement levels up to continue to build up the professionals that we're seeing. We see lots of great fellows coming into the program, but we want to retain them. We want to keep them into the association. How can we get them plugged into director roles like you, Josh? And then, and then even after director roles, what's next? So the board, and then after the board, what's after the board? Maybe we want to go to the foundation and support the foundation. And so really just trying to bridge that gap for other folks who are interested in getting connected.
Yes, I was a Thomas Mormon Fellow 1 year ago to the day.
Yeah.
And here we are. So let's say there are some TACUSPA members on this Zoom call today, on this webinar, listening, saying, that all sounds amazing. I want to be part of it. How can they get involved with TACUSPA and the work that you're doing?
Absolutely. So you can absolutely join a committee today. So I get a committee opportunities form that I send out pretty much in every newsletter we post on social media, but I'll also post it in the chat at the end of this webinar so you can have access to it. It's basically an opportunity for you to get connected with other higher ed professionals across the state to do project focused roles or tasks. So my committee, the Marketing and Membership Committee, meets very regularly and they're very active because of the contents of what we're doing. And so next month, we're actually meeting, we meet the first Tuesday of every month. And we try to, I think next month, our focus is really what are we doing at conference? How can we create a social media team who's going to be going out and taking photos and videos of other people at conference? But really, to get connected, you can start today. So I'll send the link in the chat. That link, once you submit your form, I will immediately after I'll get an email saying you've submitted it, and then I'll reach out to the committee chair and say, congratulations, you have a new committee member. And you should expect a call from or an email from that committee chair to reach out and just to say, hey, we're so glad you're here. This is our meeting time. Like, we're excited. Let's do this. So that's really the best way to get connected. There will also be more opportunities upcoming this fall or this next few months. So we're about to open board elections, board nominations. We also will have the fellowships always will happen every year. And so there's always a great opportunity for those for newer professionals and grad students. So lots of opportunities to get connected, but committee is really the main, the easiest entry point into the association.
That's awesome. Shelby, thanks for joining and being part of this. We're going to segue over to Neil, but if you want to pop that link in the chat, that'd be super helpful. Neil, hello. Thank you for joining the panel today. Let's dive in. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Same questions. Tell us about yourself and how you got involved with the TACUSPA.
So I'm a Libra. No, I got involved with TACUSPA, frankly, because it was a low cost, very accessible way to, frankly, build professional community. I love Galveston, and it has grown a lot in my time. My campus has, but once upon a time, I was the only housing professional, and I wanted other people who I could talk to, and so TACUSPA was like the perfect because Texas is special, and it has Texas specific issues, and it made a lot of sense. I had to kind of take some time, step back a bit to just kind of manage my sanity when I was finishing up my dissertation. But the second my dissertation started to wind down, I really felt like I had benefited so much from TACUSPA, among other things, and I really felt like I kind of owed it. And I really do. I feel like I owed it to get back in. And then I applied for something, and then I got a call from Corey. It might have been an email. I don't know. His emails feel like calls sometimes. And like, hey, great application for that thing. I'm going to give you something else. And so, I just basically kind of yes-anded. And I showed up, and director of technology asked me how much I know about technology. But it is my area where I have to pay attention to it. And I've learned so much. I think I accused Brooke Arrington from being a wizard the other day because I was watching her do everything so much faster than I could. But it was getting done, and it's just been so nice to build like a community and people who maybe aren't in your backyard, but they know the language and they know the score. And it's just really, really, really nice. It's been one of like the great pleasures of my life the last year and a half.
I will echo that sentiment because as a fellow who had only had virtual interactions with people in TACUSPA, Neil was one of the first faces I got to engage with at the conference back in the fall. And here we are on a webinar together. Pretty cool.
Look at us.
Neil, tell us some of the things that you're working on in your current role with TACUSPA.
Sure. So my board member, Dr. Tondra Moore, she gives me a lot of leeway. So I've really been able to kind of do kind of whatever I want. And so I've been working on keeping and fixing a lot of the little formatting things on the website, but really just kind of brainstorming and working on things with the committee under Shelby's incredible leadership. And so things like, we have a YouTube channel now, TACUSPA, and getting that up because we have content. So building that content library, working on that. Really enjoyed working with you on the webinars and getting that stuff going. I'm really, really proud. I worked with Brandon Lee, our outgoing director of assessment. And so we sent out like our first summative assessment in a minute. And we sent that out and we had so many great responses, and going through and analyzing those responses gave us a lot of good data and more ideas. So there's just, I don't know, there's a lot. I feel like we have a lot of ideas, and it's just a matter of finding the time and hopefully getting more people who want to help, because that is our limiter right there. It's just hours in the day.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I'm going to skip this question with you too, just because I feel like it's so valuable that you all have already answered it. In what ways, personally and professionally, have you benefited the networking, the relationships? I think I'm going to echo that sentiment because, and moving on to question 4, what's your vision for the future of TACUSPA? When I met Neil was like, you're the webinars guy. Here's all my, this is what webinars can be and should be and could be, and we're moving towards that. So Neil, what else? What's your vision for the future of TACUSPA and what it can be in the future?
I feel like TACUSPA should really be like the main conduit for any young or professional and student affairs in Texas. We should be a conduit and proving ground for anybody who wants to move on to have a national stage. So at ACPA or TACUSPA, NASPA or what have you. I feel like we're well positioned. We have our fall conference. Like you can do you can try that presentation out in the fall as a dry run for the one that you're going to try and do in the spring. That makes so much sense. We have we can be a very low barrier to entry place for young or really honestly any student affairs professionals in the state to really kind of come trade ideas. I also feel like Texas is one of 5 states in the last census. I say it like I didn't know exactly. One of 5 states in the last census that still has positive growth of college age persons. And we have Texas shaped problems too. And I think we need to have a place where, it makes just so much sense that we could be that place where we can trade best practices, give each other support, share resources. I just feel like TACUSPA has just so much potential. And I think there's been a lot of growth, but I don't think we've scratched the surface of it. So, yeah. And, in my role in technology, I just want to make technology work for us. I want it not to be the limiter. I want it to be the enabler. So in my time here, I just want to make things simpler wherever it can be and streamline and just make it easier for people to connect. And I don't think I've messed anything up too much. So I feel pretty proud of what we've done.
Yeah, one of the coolest things, well, I mean, at least for me, in that conversation on the bus and over, at coffee at the conference, when you're going through all these things that you want to do, host a webinar, record the webinar, put it on YouTube, and then have a recommended citation for people to use from what they're learning from that. that's reality. You can go to TACUSPA too, go to our page on YouTube, and that vision you had before is reality. Last question for you, Neil. How can TACUSPA members get involved in some of the things that you're working on and moving towards?
Well, definitely share, become a member. First and foremost, become a member, read, and participate. And then if you find a need or you find something that we can do, like pipe up, respond. We're going to try and be doing more of these assessments that each one kind of builds on the last one. And so, one of the big things we saw was like just an overwhelming urge to connect. Be one of those participants, first and foremost. And then I really feel like if you show up, you will find other people who are like-minded. And I remember coming to that first meeting, with Shelby and everybody. I was the oldest by at least 10 years. I'm still the old head, but you guys never made me feel that way. No, you constantly made me feel that way, but like you love me anyway. And and I can't tell you, like there's times where our group chat like pulls me out of a rough moment. And so I don't know. I feel like that's what I would tell anybody. Use our services, tell us where they can be better. And if you have time or talents to lend, do it. Just do it.
Awesome. Neil, thanks for joining. Like I mentioned, this will be recorded and put on YouTube. Thanks to Neil and all of his hard work with a citation. So if there's anything you learned today and you want to cite your source, it'll be there. Thanks to Neil. Moving on, last but not least, Corey, thanks for joining us today. Could you just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved with TACUSPA?
Yeah. So I think I've been a member since August 2011. I'd have to check Wild Apricot to be sure, but I think it's August 2011. And I think I really got involved at the encouragement of our Associate Dean of Students, Dr. John Coffis at UTSA, who was, I think, treasurer for the association at that time, but became a president and then a Caswell recipient in subsequent years. But it was in my first year of my graduate program at UTSA, and he sent a note welcoming me as a GA in the Division of Student Life, or the area of student life, and nudged me to join TACUSPA. You had to have a recommendation signed back then, and so I had him fill that out for me as the reference. And then really the next year in 2012, when the conference was in San Antonio, I was asked to be on the marketing committee, and so I worked on the marketing committee for that first year, and then was a fellow. It was back in the day, so I was not a Thomas Mormon fellow. That happened a few years after me, when the program was renamed in honor and memory, not really memory, but to honor the good work of Thomas Mormon, who was instrumental in forming the fellows program. And so I think in years like 3, the person, I don't remember his name, but he was the registration chair for the Houston conference. He got a new job out of state and was moving. And David Rikita at UH Clear Lake sent me a very panicked email, might have been a phone call, much like Neil, I don't remember, and said, hey, I need to talk to you, and ask if I would run registration. And I knew basically nothing about conference planning, but I was able to build out conference registration, and then really that became my area of expertise for the next decade. And so that's how I learned the ins and outs of Wild Apricot, which is really the foundation of our technology. It runs the website, the membership database, conference registration, all of it. And so it was really the learning laboratory for me to learn the ins and outs of the association, which really made me a stronger member and a stronger board member because of that knowledge. I went on to be chair of scholarships and fellowships, marketing and membership, technology director, and then vice president for marketing, maybe secretary, then president-elect. I'm probably missing like 10 or 12 roles or something along the way. I think I've done everything. But I've really seen the association grow in any number of ways. From there were 4 or 5 people on the board to we expanded to I think 12 to 14 people, depending on the year, and then now we've collapsed a bit and then expanded the organizational structure just a bit to allow really more volunteer opportunities and leadership roles for people, not just like a core group, but really expand the myriad ways that people can be involved in the association. Which has had like its triumphs and challenges of who does what when, but also is really remarkable for people to feel like they have ownership in the space and the association. So I'm loving all the ways that Neil and Shelby have talked about their involvement, because that was really what we were dreaming about in our last strategic plan.
Sorry, I missed this one. Can you tell us a little bit more about your current role with TACUSPA, and then what are some of the things that you're currently working on?
Yeah. Some of the things that I'm working on in my current role as president are holdovers from dreams I had in previous board positions when 23-year-old Corey was like, I'm going to change this when I can. And it's increase virtual involvement, which you're doing currently, create opportunities for community colleges to feel more woven into the fabric of the association. That's really important to me. I think that community colleges are the engines of opportunity for higher education. And so I really value the work that happens there and want to do a better job of curating and creating space for our community college colleagues. And then the annual conference. And part of this is unique to me because I was a conference chair twice. Well, I was conference chair once and then honorary conference chair one year when we didn't have one, when 3 of them quit. But I have really spent a lot of time and effort on our 99th annual conference and working with that group. And then the virtual summit that'll happen later in June. Pumped about that. And then creating a community college leadership institute, which will just really be an in-person summit. We're looking for a sponsor for that, partnering with some colleagues at Odessa College and at Austin Community College to bring that together. So excited about those opportunities. And those are really kind of outside of what the president is expected to do. I think by policy, all we have to do is plan an annual conference. But creating spaces for more people to become involved and different people to become involved is really important. And then looking for unique ways for us to partner with other associations like ASCA. It's now a region and not a state, but ASCA, we have a pretty strong partnership with, and then the academic advising group, one of the conference chairs for this year was really involved in ACADA, so we're bringing them kind of along. She's transitioned out of that role because she got a new job, but creating spaces for us to partner with our regional professional associations is something that I'm focusing on, unique to my 1 year in this role.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. Can you tell us in what ways personally and professionally you have benefited from being involved with TACUSPA? You mentioned your resume, but can you just tell us some more about what you've experienced?
Yeah, so I think the biggest benefit is the relationships. And either I met people through TACUSPA or it was the venue by which we strengthened our relationship and partnership. Like for instance, Kelsey Bradsher McGee is on this webinar right now. And she was my supervisor in grad school. And I think I only technically worked for her for 8 months. I don't know start to finish what the start date and date was, but I think it was for sure less than a full academic year. But we've remained connected through TACUSPA, and we brought her in as a registration chair. We brought her in to all sorts of things. She helped us develop a risk management institute 1 year. So she's been involved, and that is through the association. All the people in my wedding party are coming from TACUSPA. So, I mean, it is really the place where I've created lifelong friendships, regardless of the place or the institution that I've worked. It has been kind of the connection point. Jan Wilson-McKinney, also from UTSA, said something several years ago that I jotted down on a Post-it note. And it's in one of my annual programs. I keep them all in a little memory box. But she said that TACUSPA was the place where she learned to fit in and stand out. So it really gives you a venue to be an expert in something, to lead the way, and also to have commonality with people that you can reach out to anytime that you have a question. Like if I have a policy or procedure question or a housing question, or one year I was interim director of housing, and I think I asked Neil like how to run an occupancy report. One year when I was new to student conduct, I called every conduct director who was in the TACUSPA directory and just like had a quick conversation with them about how they do things. And I probably do nothing like any of them, but I learned something from all of them. And so I think it just really created connection for me personally and professionally. I think the one professional example I'll give that's really meaningful, I struggled a lot in my first job for a lot of reasons. And so I was looking to quickly depart. And I called Heather Snow, who was the Dean of Students at UT Arlington then, but she was, I think, Vice President for Administration for TACUSPA, and was like, I need to leave. And she's like, well, lucky for you, I have someone going on maternity leave. Do you want to be Assistant Director of Student Conduct for 4 months? And I was like, I would do anything for 4 months. So it was a great place to learn quickly. Like I wasn't probably qualified to be an Assistant Director of Student Conduct, but was hired, learned the job, and she really prepared me for my next full-time role and coached me through getting that interview at UT Austin and navigating moving to a permanent position when Cheyenne returned from maternity leave. So it was only because I met her during the New Professionals Institute that I had the ability to connect with her quickly and navigate through that really challenging time. So I'm grateful for her and for the association to have provided that. Did that answer your question? I kind of rambled, Josh. Sorry.
Yeah, that was great. I think it just echoes what we've heard today. And even my 1 year, I've been with TACUSPA 1 year. Last May, I think is when I joined as a member. Maybe last April, whenever I applied to the fellowship program. But the relationships are so crucial. Professional opportunities, the smiles on a rainy day, all the things I think I would like to echo as well. I'm going to combine these last two questions into one.
Yeah.
What is your vision for the future of TACUSPA, and how can other TACUSPA members get involved in working towards that vision?
Yeah. So I think my vision for TACUSPA is to increase participation opportunities for involvement and to connect in a stronger way with community colleges. Because I think we do a good job of connecting with our four-year institutions because of the strong partnership between TACUSPA and the Student Affairs Officers Group, or the Cabinet Level Student Affairs Officers Group, and the Texas Deans of Students Council. We're not integrated in the same kind of ways with the community college associations, so there isn't quite the same nexus, but I would like there to be increased involvement. And then bringing people in earlier. And one of the ways that I think that we've done that, which is not something, I think it's something that will start in my year, but will conclude after Myra Hernandez's year as president. The journal for its 100th year is going to have two special editions, one with graduate programs, the graduate prep programs across the state, where various academic master's programs and some doctoral programs as class projects will develop journal articles and then have a special issue of the journal. So super excited about that. And I think that brings in people early and brings in people who weren't necessarily thinking about becoming involved because they're doing it as part of their educational experience in their graduate program. And then each of the students will graduate with a publication, and not many of the grad prep programs graduate their students with a publication or presentation. And so this is a way that we can give back to those members early on and maybe create an affinity for the association. Like I was able to meaningfully contribute, and that will be something that they carry with them if they stay in Texas, or look back fondly on if they leave Texas. And And then I think getting involved with any number of the committees that we have is a way, probably the easiest way, or the annual conference. You can literally just show up at the information desk at the annual conference and say, I want to be involved, and we will teach you how to text people in. And that is like, sometimes at the conference, I will just stay at the registration desk because of the hugs and high fives and all the people that I know. So it's a good way to meet people and really have fun. So if you just want to be involved, fill out the form that I know Shelby has put in the chat, and we will find a way for you to meaningfully contribute and learn your interest and curate something for you. It's not just we need this task completed. It's how can we create an opportunity for you to feel like you belong and love the space that you're in.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing. I'm going to open it up now to our audience. Please, if you have any questions, put them in the chat. They can be small, big, tricky. Give us a trick question. But while they're thinking of some really great questions to ask us, Shelby, you put it in the chat here. I'll let you give a plug for the annual conference and talk a little bit more about that.
Absolutely. So we're really excited to partner with Texas State University this year. We'll be in San Marcos, Texas. Corey is putting together a really cool boat tour. What are they called?
The glass bottom boats.
Bottom boat tours. Okay, first of all, that just tells me I'm going to TACUSPA right away. I'm very much an experienced person, so if I can get a conference and an experience, like why not? No, but seriously, we are really excited to be at Texas State University. It'll be September 29th till October 1. I believe the conference registration will be coming out soon. We'll also be doing a call for program proposals. So if you're a grad student, new professional, a faculty member, any level of years of experience within the field, we'd love to hear from you. We want your expertise to come into the space and teach our members and teach us, like, let us learn from you. We can't learn from you if you don't submit a program proposal. So please, please, please take the time to do that this year. It's definitely a great opportunity, and it's a great way for you to give back to the association if it's been 5, 6, 7 years since you've presented last. We'd love to hear from you, and there's definitely other opportunities that you'll find out about later, but there will be like a new professionals institute for new professionals. There will be a mid-managers institute for mid-level professionals. There's also usually something, a roundtable discussion for upper administration. I believe Corey, I'm not sure, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Corey and Teresa this past year brought back the president's reception. And so that will also be will be continuing into this year, which is really just a space for folks to come and interact with the presidents of TACUSPA and really engage with everyone. And just kind of like bring down the barrier, because the reality is that we're all human and we have differing varies of experience and levels, but that doesn't mean that you couldn't be a conference chair the next year, or a director of marketing, or director of technology, or whatever that role looks like for you. We want to get you connected in ways that are meaningful for you, and to help you build those skill set that you're really looking for, whether it's networking, connection, or really just to learn a new skill.
Some of the things that I'm really excited about are the keynote speakers. We have Dr. Monique Umphrey, who is the Executive Vice Chancellor and Provost for the Austin Community College system, Dr. Mamta Akapati, who has been a Vice President for Student Affairs and Dean of Students for 3 decades. We have Dr. Colette Pierce-Burnett, who was the president of Houston-Tillotson University, the oldest institution of higher education in Austin, Texas, historically Black college university. And then Dr. Mary Gonzalez, who is from the Texas House of Representatives representing El Paso, or sections of El Paso. So really excited about the conversations that we'll have there. Some of the things that we're going to really hope to excavate are how institutions are responding to cultural shifts on campus. One of the goals that I had was not to have a conference theme, so it's a Texas state of mind, but that really just means that the decorations will be very Texas-y, not that there is one singular focus of a conference theme. We want people to bring their biggest, boldest ideas to the conference proposals and the conversations that they have at the conference. So should be super exciting. And then we'll also, in addition to MMI, MPI that Shelby talked about, we'll have the community college leadership track.
When is the deadline for conference proposals? Did you say that?
Yeah, so it hasn't even opened yet. It'll open next week, and then it'll be open probably until early July. So there will be about a month of runway for everyone to get their program proposals submitted. And we're hoping to create space for as many proposals as we have. The LBJ Student Center is newly renovated, and so one, it'll be lovely, and two, it has a lot of space.
Awesome.
We also worked hard last year to create a faculty track. I forgot to mention that. So there will be some type of faculty roundtables to really get our faculty in higher education connected as well. So if you're on the call and you're a faculty member, we'd love to have you as well.
All right, any questions from the group?
Yeah, I don't see any questions. I will say, if you're preparing a proposal for the conference, regardless of not whether it gets accepted or not, we are always accepting proposals for a webinar, future webinars. So we've penciled in the first Wednesday of every month. Next month is the first Wednesday falls 4th of July week. I think it is the 4th of July. So we're going to push that to the second week, but every month there on out, we'll pencil in that first Wednesday of every month. If you got something that you want to share, maybe give it a trial run before a conference. I'm going to put the link for webinar proposals. This is not conference proposals. This is a webinar proposal form. I'll put that in the chat. And unless anyone has any other questions, I'll let it linger here for a minute or two. We'll wrap up here in just a minute.
Can I yes and you on that?
Yeah.
Just in case folks didn't know, like all of our webinars thus far, all the themes of them have been honestly coming from the needs that have been expressed by our members. So, you know, the one we did last month about, you know, we try to do a beginner's guide to academic publishing because, you know, there's so many feelings around it and it's intimidating and it shouldn't be. Like, it really shouldn't be. And I just really worry about the members who might be afraid to like let their light shine. Like, this is a place where you can do that. You can try it out, and like I will tell you, I'm pretty involved with a couple of national organizations. I'm on faculty for an institute this fall with ACPA, and the people I've met in TACUSPA can hang, and like there really isn't that big of a difference. It's just kind of finding a spot. I'll say the one biggest difference is that it's much easier to get involved with TACUSPA. And so there's a question about
one question.
Yeah,
there was a question. It was
not
sent to everyone, but we'll go ahead and bring it up.
Yeah, absolutely. So the question is the timeline for the Thomas Norman Fellowship the same every year? And when do the applications open for applications next year? So this is a great question. Our applications are closed for this year. We did select, I believe, 6 fellows this year. I think we selected 6, which was amazing. But they usually go out around the end of April. So you can always expect to follow us on TACUSPA at TACUSPA, TACUSPA on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, or I guess Twitter is now X. Any of those social media platforms, you will always get the notification that way. And then also making sure that your membership is up to date because we do send it out via email every year when the applications open. So you can usually expect it around April.
It's a good question. I was very fortunate. My vice president forwarded me an email and said, "Hey, you should apply to this and get involved." Yeah, I was grateful. Any other questions from the audience?
I have a question.
Yeah, go for
Pretty
it.
open about, I'm a pretty big for student affairs now. Oh wait, there's a question in there. I want to make sure we put them in.
That's a great
Yes,
question.
the webinars
The
are going to be
webinars. Yeah,
sorry.
sorry, Neil.
Yeah. Yeah, they're gonna be monthly, and I think we've also talked about, like, we have so many ideas. But we when we get a request from membership, like, we usually bump that one to the front. And so we've also talked about doing more. So not just one monthly, but maybe kind of switching them off where we have more hosted panels where people can kind of come in and maybe not even make it a webinar or it's recorded, just have like a space where people can come in and put the question of the day. And so yeah. So I like I was saying, I'm a big fan of a student affairs now podcasting community. And so I definitely, one question they always end with was, what problems or what things, what issues are you like troubling and wrestling with and seeing out there? And so I don't know, I felt like it would be a good maybe thing to put to our panelists and even you, Josh. What are things you're seeing out there that are
I do have an answer for that question. And something that really I've been wrestling with. I have a master's and I'm thinking about going the route of Neil and Shelby and getting that PhD someday. But the one thing I think that troubles me is at least if you get on X or Twitter or social media, and just the seeming divisiveness and even with the incoming group of students of connection, right? I don't want to be that old guy who's like, they're always on their phones. Like, phones aren't good or bad, they're just a tool. But when they replace real connection, that can be a problem. And I think TACUSPA, for me professionally, I don't, most people don't know my story. I chased a girl out here to Texas and I didn't know a single soul in the world of higher education. And TACUSPA has been a tremendous way just to meet people and get connected and have greater connection to other people. We can do only so much alone. And how can we continue to find ways to be better connected? A webinar like this to share what's on our hearts, what's on our, what we've learned, what we've experienced with others, is a really great way to do that, to open the door and say, hey, there's so many ways to get involved. Come join us and roll up your sleeves and we can get to work together. That for me is the one thing that's I've been wrestling with, is how can we just, create greater connection, social connection, professional connection, and strengthen those bonds between people, because that's ultimately what makes us better is having that real engagement with other people who are different than us and from different parts of Texas and the United States and the world, and creating those places where we can come together. So that's my answer to your question, Neil.
Yeah, I agree. It's really, really, really easy to look around and get cynical about everything. I always tell my students, especially when they're in trouble, like, if you knew what you were doing, I wouldn't have a job, right? Like, you are the reason why I'm here, and you don't yell at the crops, right? So I think it's just there's a lot of noise out there, and I think you hit it perfectly. That how often do you go online to Yelp and give a 3-star review for a perfectly adequate meal? Like, you have to be a part of it. You got to be a part of the game. You got to be a part. If there's only bad voices out there, sing your good song. And so I absolutely love things like this, and for that exact reason. And I can't agree more strongly, because I do think, we are lonely, and any way that we can connect with other people, is a good thing.
Shelby, Corey, any other last words to add to our discussion here before we wrap up?
I think there's just a lot going on in our state, in our politics, and our legislation. And so just continuing to advocate for the things that we believe in, and continuing to ask really critical questions of our leaders and the spaces that we're in, and really challenging the narrative, because the reality is our students are doing it, and we also need to be those advocates in those spaces when we're making those decisions. I also just want to encourage everyone to go out and vote, because that's something that's so critical in our work, and how it affects higher education. And when I was in college, when I was a freshman in college, I didn't vote because, one, I didn't feel like I was informed enough to vote, and two, I didn't even know how to vote. I was so confused. And so the second year, when the election came out, the next year or the next 4 years, I was like, I have to be ready for this. And I did my research. I made sure I was ready, like sign my voters registration, all of those things. But the real critical piece is to actually get out and vote. And so I just want to encourage people, especially as it's an election year, things get dicey. And when I was in college, I had no idea how important it was to vote and how it actually affects higher education. And without going into detail, I think we're seeing a lot of the impact that voting has, and a lot of the legislation that we're currently working through, and how it affects higher education. And that was something I never knew. So go out and vote. Thanks and giggles.
And even if you're not going to, be successful, get caught trying. Like, show up, try.
I think to answer Neil's question, what is on my mind right now, I think it's all of you all and the good work that you're doing on your campuses, and how can we best support that. I think about the decisions that we make as AVPs, deans, and vice presidents impact the divisions that we lead, and how can I be a good example, like on social media or my conversations with you about well-being and work. I recently told someone, I do not want my phone to illuminate on a weekend unless there is a dead body. Do not text me. And I've said that in more gentle ways to people, in harsher ways. But you don't get paid to spend your weekends in Excel. You just don't. You don't make enough money. You don't have enough time to work at the levels that some people are asked to work at. And so I want to be good at curating wellness and creating spaces for balance, especially for the teams that I lead. Like, I know the incredible amount of work they're doing. So I'm conscientious about when I call or when I'm seen doing things. Like, I'm not sending emails in the middle of the night. Even if I write it in the middle of the night, I'm scheduling it for later. But being a good model for what wellness can look like, because younger me was not particularly strong at that. And now when I'm asked to lead a group of people, I don't want them to do the things that I did when I was younger. So being intentional about that, and how can we model that as an association? I get all of our jobs are hard, and we have an incredible amount of work to do, and some things aren't realistic, and it's not an 8 to 5 gig. I understand that. And it can't be that you don't have space or time to live your life. So.
What a great note to, I think, wrap things up and end things there. Thank you everyone for coming today to Webinar Wednesday. Our next webinar will be Wednesday, July 10th, because of the holiday. It'll be the second week. But yes, it will be every month. From there on out, the first Wednesday of every month. So thanks for coming. Thanks to our panelists. Thanks to our presenters for sharing. Click the link, sign up, get involved. We look forward to having you all. Have a great Wednesday.
And thank you, Josh, for putting this together. This was awesome, and you're such a good host. So thank you so much for being here.
It's my pleasure. Awesome. Thanks, y'all.